Live from New Delhi, you're watching TD India Live, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets US Secretary of State Rubio in Washington after tariff reduction announcement ahead of critical minerals ministerial meet. On the eve of peace talks, Russia hits Ukraine's battered energy facilities, leaving thousands without heating in glacial temperatures. Donald Trump says US working on lifting sanctions with Colombia after meeting President Gustavo Petro. Both leaders hail talks. US President Donald Trump signs bill ending partial government shutdown. Another budget cliff looms over immigration and custom enforcement funding. And unbeaten India to face Afghanistan in the semis of the ICC Under-19 World Cup in Harare today. And on to the details now. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met US Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the sidelines of the critical minerals ministerial meeting. The EAM expresses happiness at meeting Rubio. There was wide-ranging conversation that covered bilateral cooperation agenda, regional and global issues, facets of India-US strategic partnership discussed, including trade, energy, nuclear, defense, critical minerals and technology. Both the leaders also agreed on the early meetings of various mechanisms to advance our shared interest. Dr. Jaishankar is in the United States to take part in the critical minerals ministerial meeting, which will focus on supply chain resilience, clean energy transitions and strategic cooperation in critical minerals. Also, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar met US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in Washington, D.C. today. Both the leaders held a useful discussion on advancement of India-US economic partnership and strategic cooperation. And in a pivotal moment for bilateral ties and global commerce, tariff on Indian exports to the US will be reduced significantly, providing much-needed relief for India's labor-intensive sectors. This move bolsters India's exports to its top market and advances New Delhi's $1 trillion export target amid rising global protectionism. Our next report has all the details.
India and the United States have announced a significant tariff reduction on Indian exports, slashing rates to 18%, easing months of trade tensions and igniting optimism across India's manufacturing sector, stock exchanges, and investor circles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared the news on X, and he said, "Wonderful to speak with my dear friend President Trump today. Delighted that Made in India products will now have a reduced tariff of 18%. Big thanks to President Trump on behalf of 1.4 billion people of India for this wonderful announcement." At 18%, the headline tariff positions India favorably against ASEAN nations like Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam, which are facing up to 19 to 20% tariff. This not only improves US market access for Indian goods in pharmaceuticals, textiles, and engineering, but it also removes prior uncertainties from punitive tariffs imposed last year. India-US bilateral trade reached approximately $212.3 billion in 2024, with US exports to India at $83.3 billion and imports from India at $128.9 billion. This announcement brightens FDI prospects and supports collaboration in energy, technology, and defense. This late-night announcement on Monday, coming just a week after India concluded its free trade agreement with the European Union, sharpens India's global trade strategy and integrates it deeper into Western markets. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
Well, India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal briefed the media on key details on the reduction of tariffs by the United States, calling the India-US tariff reduction announcement a good omen for India's bright future. The minister on Tuesday said the deal would open up vast opportunities for the poor, fishermen, farmers and youth.
भारत के भविष्य को चार चांद लगाने वाला ट्रेड डील माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में कल रात फाइनलाइज किया गया है। मैं 140 करोड़ देशवासियों की तरफ से माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का धन्यवाद करता हूं और आप सभी को बधाई देता हूं, क्योंकि ये वास्तव में भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था को, भारत के 140 करोड़ नागरिकों को, हर गरीब, किसान, मछुआरा, गांव में रहने वाला युवा, युवती, हमारी बहनें, महिलाएं, सभी के लिए ढेर सारे अवसर लाने वाला ट्रेड डील माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कल तय किया।
Well, Piyush Goyal added that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has protected the sensitive sectors of agriculture and dairy and the interests of the people working in it.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने हमेशा एग्रीकल्चर और डेयरी इन दोनों सेक्टर्स को संभाला है, उनके हितों को संभाला है और इस क्षेत्र में लोगों को उज्जवल भविष्य मिले और मौके मिले, आमदनी बढ़े, उसके लिए लगातार काम किया है। कभी उनके साथ, उनके हितों के साथ समझौता माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने नहीं होने दिया और मुझे खुशी है कि पूरा देश इस बात को समझता है।
Well, Defence Research and Development Organisation has carried out successful demonstration of solid fuel ducted ramjet technology from the integrated test range at Chandipur. The successful demonstration places India into an elite league of nations possessing this technology that enables developing long-range air-to-air missiles to give tactical edge over the adversaries. Now, all the subsystems, including nozzle-less booster, solid fuel ducted ramjet motor and fuel flow controller, performed as per expectations after being initially propelled by a ground booster motor to the desired Mach number. And the 13th edition of the joint military exercise Khanjar between India and Kyrgyzstan will be held at Misamari, Assam from the 4th to 17th of this month. The exercise aims to enhance interoperability between the special forces of both nations with a focus on joint operations in urban warfare and counter-terrorism scenarios under the United Nations mandate. Exercise Khanjar 13 will further strengthen bilateral defence cooperation and deepen the enduring military partnership between India and Kyrgyzstan. And why Khemchand Singh has finally been chosen by the BJP as the legislative party leader in the northeastern state of Manipur. He will be the next Manipur chief minister. In a social media post on X, Khemchand Singh said he's committed to fostering empathy, compassion and harmony among all communities in the state. Also, Khemchand expressed his sincere gratitude to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, BJP President Nitin Nabin and all the party MLAs for reposing their trust in him by electing him as the leader of the BJP Legislative Party. Earlier, the BJP Legislative Party of Manipur elected 62-year-old Singh as its leader at a meeting held at the party headquarters in New Delhi. It was attended by 35 of the 37 BJP MLAs, besides party's central observer Tarun Chugh, its northeast in charge Sambit Patra and BJP state president A. Sharda Devi, among others. And a consignment of 10 Bailey bridges dispatched by India for Sri Lanka will arrive today, which will assist in the restoration of critical connectivity following the devastation caused by cyclone Ditwa. The consignment was dispatched from Visakhapatnam to Colombo on board INS Gharial. External Affairs Ministry said that the supply is part of India's special economic package of $450 million announced as part of Operation Sagar Bandhu. MEA reiterated that India continues to stand with Sri Lanka to support reconstruction efforts after Cyclone Ditwa. And on Sri Lanka's National Day, India has marked a historic spiritual milestone by sending the sacred Devni Mori relics of Lord Buddha abroad for the first ever international exposition. The holy relics will be enshrined at Colombo's revered Ganga Ramaya temple from today until February 10th, where thousands of devotees are expected to gather for veneration. The holy relics originate from the Devni Mori archaeological site in Gujarat's Aravali district. These are enshrined at the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda and Vadodara. This journey not only showcases India's rich Buddhist heritage to the world, but also undertakes profound gesture of spiritual outreach and cultural diplomacy towards Sri Lanka.
On 4th of February, the Devni Mori relics of Lord Buddha will be taken to Sri Lanka. This was an announcement of our Honorable Prime Minister during his visit to Sri Lanka, and they will be going out of the country for the first time. Both the son and daughter of Ashoka went to Sri Lanka with the Bodhi sapling as well as the message of Lord Buddha. So this exchange will actually be extending our friendship with Sri Lanka. We are hoping that lakhs and lakhs of devotees in Sri Lanka will get a chance to feel the presence of Lord Buddha and to bask in the glory of his message.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi visited the Indian Institute of Technology Kanpur on Wednesday, highlighting the Indian Navy's focus on indigenous innovation and self-reliance. Discussions centered on aligning cutting-edge academic research with the Navy's operational needs to strengthen defense capabilities and support India's long-term vision of technological growth. Rajasthan's desert city of Jaisalmer continues to draw attention with its unique tradition of camel polo, where the game is played on camels instead of horses. Practiced for over 4 decades, the sport highlights the deep cultural bond between local communities and camels, which are carefully selected for the matches. Played from a significant height, camel polo demands high levels of balance and precision, making it a distinctive spectacle for the visitors and sports enthusiasts alike. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Thousands march in Caracas demanding release of Maduro after US military capture. Rio worshippers honor sea goddess Yemanaja, seeking blessings and protection. And risks Museum to open Metamorphosis exhibition tracing 2,000 years of artistic influence.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Ukraine accused Russia on Tuesday of violating an agreement with Donald Trump to hold off from striking Ukraine's energy systems in the depths of a freezing winter as its forces carried out large-scale airstrikes on Kyiv. In his nightly video address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine was waiting for U.S. reaction to Russian strikes that caused further damage to Ukraine's energy infrastructure. While Ukrainian Energy Minister Denis Shmyhal said that a power plant in Kyiv's eastern suburbs had been seriously damaged, prompting officials to redirect resources to restoring heating to thousands of residents. The attack came a day before Ukrainian and Russian negotiators were due to meet for a second round of US-brokered talks in Abu Dhabi.
We expect a response from the United States on the Russian strike. It was America's proposal to stop a strike on energy infrastructure during diplomatic efforts and the cold winter period. This request was made personally by the President of the United States. We see that the Russia responded to this request with the record use of ballistic weapons. Not even 4 days have passed from the week that Russia was asked to observe. This also says a lot about everything else Russia promises or may promise. If their word is not kept now, what can be expected later? They lied before the war, and the Russia started the full-scale war trying to deceive everyone about its intention and about Ukraine.
Well, on the other hand, following the Moscow strikes on Kyiv, where U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday urged Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the nearly 4-year Ukraine conflict. Now, during a briefing in Oval's office, asked if he was disappointed with Putin, Trump said that Putin kept his word with what he said was a halt in strikes from Sunday to Sunday. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte on Tuesday inspected a Kyiv thermal power plant damaged in Russian strikes. During the visit, Ukrainian Energy Minister Denis Shmyhal showed Rutte the damage inflicted on the thermal power plant. Shmyhal said the plant in Donetsky has been used strictly for providing heating for people and was heavily damaged. He also described the problems facing Ukraine's energy system as serious and said repairs would take a considerable time. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump and Colombian President Gustavo Petro began their first meeting on Tuesday at the White House. Trump and Petro said on Tuesday that they had a cordial meeting in their first face-to-face encounter. Now, Trump described the meeting between the two leaders as very good. U.S. President Donald Trump also said he discussed sanctions, among other issues, with Colombian President Gustavo Petro during their meeting at the Oval Office earlier in the day.
Yeah, we did. We worked on it, and we got along very well. Now we're working on that. We're working on some other things, too, including sanctions. And we had a very good meeting.
Well, Colombian President Gustavo Petro also called his first meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump positive, describing it as a conversation grounded in shared values despite political differences. Petro said the discussion began with the idea of freedom, referencing a portrait of Abraham Lincoln at the White House. Petro said Trump told him he does not believe sanctions are rational in this particular case, an assessment the Colombian leader said he shares. Petro also said the two leaders parted on friendly terms.
The impression I have from the recent meeting just a few hours ago is positive. First and foremost, that is the reality. We do not act under blackmail. And I think the photos and the atmosphere of the meeting show a meeting between equals who think differently. I think the path is born or it is strengthened.
Well, moving on, in Venezuela, thousands of government supporters marched through Caracas on Tuesday, demanding the release of Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, marking 1 month since their capture by the United States military forces. Now, the protesters displayed images of Maduro depicted as a superhero character called Super Bigot and held banners reading "The empire kidnapped them, we want them back." Nicolas Maduro Guerrera, a deputy and son of the detained former president, addressed marchers from a stage, stating that January 3rd will remain marked like a scar on our face forever when our homeland soil was desecrated by the foreign army. Maduro and Flores remain detained in a United States federal prison following the military incursion. And US President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed a spending bill into law that ended a brief partial government shutdown and gives Congress more time to debate possible limits on his immigration crackdown. Now, the legislation restores funding for defense, healthcare, labor, education, housing, and other agencies and temporarily extends funding for the Department of Homeland Security until February 13th, after DHS funding lapsed because lawmakers hadn't acted in time. Trump reached the deal last week with Senate Democrats, who are pressing for restrictions on aggressive immigration enforcement following the controversial killing of 2 U.S. citizens by federal agents in Minneapolis. In response, the administration has begun deploying body cameras on immigration agents in Minnesota, one of the Democrats' demands, while other proposals faced GOP resistance. Also, the bill cleared the Senate with support, bipartisan support, and narrowly passed the House 217 for 214. The previous shutdown lasted a record 43 days and cost the U.S. economy an estimated $11 billion. Well, 14 migrants died in the Aegean Sea of Greece on Tuesday after their boat collided with a Coast Guard vehicle off the island of Chios. A Coast Guard official said they spotted a dinghy transporting migrants towards Chios, which lies a few miles off the coast of Turkey, and ordered them to turn back. He added that the smugglers maneuvered towards the Coast Guard vessel, causing a collision. 2 Coast Guard officers were injured and transferred to a hospital, and 24 migrants have been rescued. Witnesses reported that about 30 to 35 people were on board. Search and rescue was underway with Coast Guard vessels, private boats, and divers assisting the operation. Greece, in the southeast corner of the European Union, has long been a favored gateway to Europe for migrants and refugees from the West Asia, Africa, and Asia. And some news from around the world now. The Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington has welcomed a baby Asian elephant, its first birth in nearly 25 years. The calf will remain off exhibit for up to a month to bond with a mother, herd members, and keepers. Asian elephants are known for their intelligence, sensitivity, and strong social bonds. Worshippers of Afro-Brazilian religions dressed in white entered the sea along Rio de Janeiro's coastline to honor Iemanjá, the sea goddess. Devotees offered flowers, perfumes, and letters seeking blessings for protection, peace, and prosperity. The annual ritual, rooted in Yoruba traditions brought to Brazil by enslaved Africans, remains a powerful expression of faith and cultural heritage. Crowds gathered in Richmond, Virginia to welcome a group of Buddhist monks taking part in a walk for peace across the United States. The journey began in Fort Worth, Texas last October with the aim of spreading awareness about inner peace and mindfulness as supporters praised the monks and highlighted the importance of peace. The walk will conclude in Washington, D.C. And on to some sports news now. Unbeaten and well-rounded India will face Afghanistan in the semi-final of the ICC Under-19 World Cup today. The Indian team is the most successful side in the competition's history, having lifted the trophy 5 times ahead of Australia, who have claimed 4 titles. India have enjoyed dominant campaign, winning all 5 of their matches comfortably, including a 58-run win over Pakistan in the Super 6 stage. Afghanistan have also had an impressive run, winning 4 of their 5 games, with their only defeat coming against Sri Lanka. The winners will face England in the final on Friday. Based on current form and squad strength, India are expected to hold the upper hand and move a step closer to a record 6th crown. And Amsterdam's Rijksmuseum is preparing to open Metamorphosis, a major exhibition exploring the 2,000 years influence of the epic on art. The show brings together 80 works from 50 museums and collections, tracing its impact on artists from Titian to Magritte across centuries. Let's take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.